Hello, sitting in the driver's seat. Well, sitting in the bed. Like I'm waking him up. That's all he does is sleep. You know what? I did that little talk on single dad, kind of single dad thing in it. But I have to give it up to the mothers of my children. I have two girls from one mom and two girls from another, and them as sisters just mesh together, and um, they they just get along fine, like sisters. But I will give it up for their moms. Early stages, I would say about um 15 years ago, it was really bad for me. What I hid for a long time, the habit, started to show cracks. And I would even say a little farther than 15 years ago, but right, Cash? And I started to crack and break, and the drugs changed. Um, I got into heavy shit, and cocaine and meth. The meth really is a psychological torment. And that's when you start acting weird. And when you haven't had it for a couple days, you're jittering and you're like nerves. And I remember holding coffee cups, and suddenly I would just jolt, just spill it everywhere. You know, people saying, "What's wrong with you?" I'm doing meth. Damn. And but I wanted to hide it from my girls, but it brought out something in me that you start to think people can't notice. So you're trying to act normal. And I would show up at my ex's like at weird times. Um, my ex here in Canada, I would just show up at like 3 a.m. regular time. No, I'm joking. But banging on the door. She had a boyfriend. He thought this was just messed. But the girls loved me, and that's when they worried, and they had in their head this dad took them swimming, took them to the parks, took them camping, took them. I always had them on weekends. Weekends were never just sitting around. We would go to the parks. We would go to West Edmonton Mall. We would do all this stuff, and all of a sudden, they must have said, my oldest, "What is happening here, Dad? You know, like what are you doing here at 3 o'clock in the morning?" And my ex was strong enough, and she was a strong mom, and she was an amazing mother to Bella and Hannah. And don't get me wrong, I'll talk about my ex-wife in England. But I will say this: out here, she just basically said, "You're not gonna see the girls until you get better, because it's fair to them." Did I get better? Mm, not right away, no. And it got worse. That saying, "it got worse before better." The only thing I want from this, the only thing you can do from this, you can live in regret and carry the weight and be miserable and feel shameful and guilty and good luck doing anything in life. or you learn from it. And I have tried, and I'm still always saying to the girls, we can learn from it. If we want to live in anger and regret, that's why I know some certain people with me, they live in anger. And how do you even get out of bed? You're living in anger. I just want to say, and this is from my ex, here in Canada. You're a good mom. We don't speak that much, to be honest. It's too bad because, we could get along really fine. But I've got that title of dad, and I held on to it. My girls have held on to it. That's why they've held on to me, is because they knew the dad I was. And then they knew the dad with the demons in his life, which was addiction of all kinds of stuff. Codependency, lust. I dated, there was no wanting to be with a woman again. Once you, but I dated and I wasn't very good boyfriend. That's a whole other conversation. But now I lay here alone with my little furry friend. And I'm clean and sober. My mind I'm looking through clear glass. My faith grew after a miracle I witnessed. And my family witnessed. I mean, I landed, and my brother-in-law became a Christian in 24 hours. He didn't believe, and he had a vision. He didn't do any addictions. He's awesome. But I'll say this: it's the most important thing to me, besides my children, is Jesus Christ. And it is so important to me. So I surrender my life, because if I surrender it to Paul, I wonder what the next video would be like. So this morning, right now, I surrender my life to Christ, and He will guide me. You'll be surprised the doors that open. I mean, it's freaky. It's supernatural. Jesus works that way. Amen. Good mom.